Min denki nek nek. Adam, not one. Hi beautiful people, welcome back again to Yabbies on. My name as always is Na Yabali. I'm a Ghanaian living in Budapest, and in today's video I'm just going to highlight some of the reasons why I think people are not learning as much Hungarian, or there's so many people or foreigners living in Hungary who do not learn Hungarian or find it difficult to actually learn Hungarian. If you've watched so many of my previous videos, you will understand how I'm stressing the fact that Hungarian is one of the most difficult languages, but also it's important to be able to integrate in a society, and language is one of the easiest ways through which you can integrate into any society. But regardless of this, it's still difficult for some of us to learn Hungarian, and I'm going to share with you a few reasons why I think so. Number one, learning Hungarian is hard. Even the Hungarians will tell you that the language is hard. The Hungarian language does not have a stem from any of the Latin languages or the Germanic languages. It stems from the Finno-Ugric language group, and it's from the Uralic region of Asia. So Hungarians many years ago migrated from somewhere in Asia, and then they finally ended up in Hungary, present-day Hungary, I would say, because a lot of their lands has been lost through wars, etc, which I will not delve into right now. But the language is pretty difficult, and it bears no semblances to several other languages. I think currently it's similar to Finnish, Estonian, and some other scattered dialects across the world. But unlike these languages with Germanic roots or Latin roots, some of the vocabulary in the Hungarian language is very difficult to be recognized across other languages. I think one of the easiest ways through which you can learn the language is familiarity. Okay, so let's say from the words in the language, you can be like, oh, I know this word in English, I know this word in German, so it's easy to pick it up from there. But there's so many words, so many phrases in the Hungarian language that you cannot recognize in any of these English, Germanic language, Latin language origins that we have available. So it makes it quite difficult. Yeah, so there's not really much overlap with other languages, and the words, some of the words are not recognizable. For example, when I say der Mann, it's English. Der Mann is German, okay? And then when I say something like important, it's French. I think Spanish or something as well. Nonchalant is a word we use in English. It's also used in French. Restaurant, French, even though English would say restaurant, but like the spelling is the same, pretty much the same word. In Hungary, we don't really have that. We have very few cognates, as those words are called. I know in Hungary we have the chocolate, which is chocolate, but this compared to French, compared to English, Spanish, German, there's so many more similarities in these languages than with Hungarian. So it's difficult for foreigners to pick it up because it doesn't really resemble any word we know. Like there's some words that are just you can't relate with the words pretty much, so it makes it difficult to learn the language because you can't relate. The next thing I also want to talk about is the Hungarian language does not fall amongst any of the top languages in the world. Before I showed this video, I just did a quick search on the internet, Wikipedia, trying to see where Hungary ranked on the top languages spoken. It wasn't in the top 10, it wasn't in the top 20. Globally, there's just about 13 million people who speak Hungarian. Majority of them are located in Hungary, and then there's a few scattered around Romania, Slovakia, Croatia, just around the Hungarian region, and also those who live abroad, mainly in the US. So just in the entire world of 8 billion, 9 billion people, just 13 million people who speak Hungarian, okay? And when you come into Hungary itself, there's about 1.5 million people who can speak English. Most of them are based in Budapest. There's not much motivation because it's like, okay, I can do pretty much as I can in Hungarian, which I can do a lot in English regardless of whether I know the language or not. So that is also one of the perceptions and reasons why people are not encouraged to learn the language, because they would say the language does not really go outside of Hungary. It doesn't really go elsewhere. So that's one of the limited, I think it's just maybe, I wouldn't say a shallow way of thinking, but it's also a limited way of thinking, because that's also one of the reasons why people do not learn the language. Now, the third reason I would say people don't learn the language is that most people come to Hungary with a short-term plan. Yeah, most people are coming into Hungary for school. One of the ways through which I know people come to Hungary is through school. There's several scholarship programs and other opportunities through which people come to Hungary. So they come into Hungary with a short-term plan. Okay, I'm coming to study, and then I go back. And most of the studies and the universities available, you do your studies in English, and you'll be good to go. You defend your thesis and everything in English, and you're good to go. So you come into Hungary like, oh, I'll be in Hungary for 2 years to do my master's, or 4 years, or 3 years to do my bachelor's, or 4 years, or 4 years to do my PhD, and then I'm off. And then you're here, 2 years gone, you're done with your master's. You're like, okay, let me just I think I can. Let me just stay 1 year and figure things out. You stay here for 1 more year. Like, okay, let me just do 2 years. I found this job. I can stay for 2 years. And then by the time you realize you've been here for 5 years and you've not learned the language, because the original plan for you coming here was to just dip in and dip out. But then life changes, situations happen. So people usually have a short-term plan for coming here. Maybe they want to even come here, then through here, go to other countries or go back home, whatever. So that in most of the initial plans usually is a short-term plan, okay, and then after some time you realize that, okay, this short-term plan is becoming a long-term plan. But because you didn't think you would need a language, you didn't even invest in the language from the start, and then after some time you even lose the motivation to study the language because you've been able to go about all these 2, 3, 4, 5 years with English, and then what's the motivation now to study Hungarian? In my last video, I've just I highlighted one of the cultural test that has recently been introduced in order for you to get your permanent residence in Hungary. So now I think that's some form of motivation for people to learn Hungarian. The next point I also like to talk about is that I think there's limited resources when it comes to studying Hungarian. If you want to learn German, you want to learn Spanish, Italian, French, when you go on the internet, there's so many learning materials. Even on YouTube, you can find so many learning materials for so many of these other languages you can easily follow. But when it comes to Hungarian, the textbooks, the online learning materials and the videos and everything is pretty limited. When you go onto the internet and you want to find videos about learning in Hungary compared to maybe learning Spanish or French, it's very limited. I even started to learn Hungarian on Duolingo at a point, and even from the start, how the course was structured in Duolingo, it was some way for me. I started to learn it, but then there was this other language I also started to learn just about the same time, and I'm way gone in that language, even though most of my studies was on Duolingo compared to Hungarian. I'm more motivated to do that other language than Hungarian, because for example German, Spanish, there's so many materials. You can watch YouTube videos online free of charge. You can figure it out like by practicing. Of course you have to do some native practices and everything, but with Hungarian it's very limited. And also when you're even sometimes trying to learn Hungarian from Hungarians, they automatically switch to you in English. Like I did 1 semester of Hungarian in school. I completed with a 5. I was really actively learning Hungarian for that last semester of my class because I didn't want it to be said that I came to Hungary and I didn't learn Hungarian. And then in my job also they were offering some Hungarian language classes in the initial parts. Then the pandemic hit and it got cancelled. So around that time my Hungarian was way better. But then after that I went on a few occasions to this blah language exchange program, and you just go there and then you find a group which speaks the language you're interested in learning and you join them. So because of the scarce learning opportunities, if you really want to learn Hungarian, I think just go to a school, pay, and then you have committed, and then you do that. I think at this point that may be what I have to do. Go and pay, and then I know that okay, my money is gone. Like how I finally learned how to drive when my money was going and it was itching me and I was waking up and tired. I was like, I'm learning, and I finally got my driver's license. Maybe I should do the same in Hungarian. Because there's also definitely more opportunities for you if you can speak Hungarian. Even when it comes to jobs, you will not limit yourself to just multinational jobs. You can actually find local Hungarian jobs and startups or whatever. Aside the fact that Hungarian language is one of the hardest languages, people come here with a short-term plan to stay. English is widely spoken in Hungary. I'd also say people are just not interested, or people are just not willing to take up the challenge, or we're just being lazy. I don't know, but like there's so many circumstances that have made us comfortable. People are more close to the idea of learning Hungarian because there's a lot of discouragement even from locals when it comes to learning the language, and so it just demotivates you, demoralizes you, and then laziness sets in. Oh, I can do it later, I'll do it next month. And last but not the least, I would say this is a cheesy one, but maybe not having a Hungarian partner can also limit you learning the language. They say one of the fastest ways of learning the language is in bed, aka if you have a Hungarian partner. So if you have a Hungarian partner, of course you will be encouraged to learn more from them because you'll be with them most of the time. You'll be meeting with their families, their friends, and you want to be able to get their jokes and everything. So even subconsciously you'll be picking up a lot in Hungarian and you will be learning them. Regardless of all these excuses I think I've given and reasons that I've given, I've met people who are speaking pretty good Hungarian in a couple of months, in 6 months, 1 year. They're doing good in the Hungarian language. But yeah, these are some of the reasons why not having a Hungarian partner, not having a long-term plan for staying in Hungary, knowing that it's hard, English being spoken widely and being able to maneuver with English, and also not having enough encouragement even from the locals to learn the language. Genuinely, I once went for one of these language exchange programs and it's like, I'm here to learn Hungarian, and then this guy was like, why am I learning Hungarian? Is my plan to stay here forever? It's like there's no point unless you really want to stay here forever. But if your plan is just to dip in, dip out, or to leave after some time, there's really no point in learning the language. And yeah, so there's some biases you can go off of, and then by the time you realize you've been here for 25 years and you haven't even learned the language. So it's actually now a requirement. You should learn the language, you should know it. Also, because to get your permanent resident and even eventual citizenship, there will be some cultural examinations and questions which will test your language proficiency and your integration into society. So that is it. So pretty much these are just simple reasons why I think people are not learning the Hungarian language. However, that should not stop you from learning the Hungarian language if you have not already started. So this is just a quick video I'm putting out here, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for sticking and staying with me, and I'll catch you on the next video. Until then, it's